you're ready to turn over your page, and appreciate the beauty of the metric system that we're using. Now, you guys can help me with this because you already know at least 2/3 of the page, and we're going to formalize the last third. Okay, so here's what you've got. Let's remember that essentially speaking, in the metric system, even though you can go further into smaller units, or if you want, you can go further into bigger units. Okay, we essentially have 4 main units. Okay, they're the kilometer, the meter, the centimeter, and the millimeter. Okay, now what I'm going to do is in one diagram, I'm going to progressively do all 3 diagrams that you've got in front of you. Okay, so in terms of conversions, if you have another color, get that one out so that it's going to be clear on your diagram. Okay, when you move from say 1 kilometer, right? How many meters are there in a kilometer? Answer? 1,000. Very good. Which is why we use the prefix kilo. It means 1,000, right? Same with a kilogram or a kiloliter, right? So to get from 1 to 1,000, we multiply by 1,000, right? This unit is really big, and this one's much smaller. So if they're both equivalent, then the numbers over here are going to be much bigger.
So should it be divided by 1,000?
Ah, I'm so glad you asked that, okay? Because this is kind of the big point and why it's confusing, right? Let's go to a physical example. If I say 2 kilometers, right? That is equal to 2,000 meters, okay? It's not equal to 1/2,000th of a meter, okay? And the reason why is this unit is really big. So even when you have a small number of them, even because they're so large, you get a large number of a smaller unit. So that's why it is multiplication. And in fact, it's multiplication all the way going from big units to small units. Okay? Can we finish it and then discuss further? Is that okay? So now when we go from meters to centimeters, of course, it's not multiplied by 1,000, it's multiplied by 100, right? It's all in terms of tens, right? And then the last one over here, how many millimeters in a centimeter? 10. Excellent. You can see this beautiful step down. It makes sense, okay? And obviously, if we want to go in the opposite direction, okay, we would divide by 10, or divide by 100, or divide by 1,000. Okay, fantastic. Now, when we took these units, right, the wonderful thing about this is that it moves straight up to area. These are all lengths. It moves straight up to area so easily, right? Instead of having a kilometer, you just have a square kilometer, right? Which is why on your diagram, your second row, you'll have squares there, right? And you've got square meters, so I can write meters squared. You've got square centimeters and square millimeters. But because everything is squared, all the units are squared, when you convert between them, you also square. That's right, and you should have had this diagram when you were talking about converting area, right? So for example, if I went from square kilometers to square meters, yeah, Adam?
You have to times it, I have to put the 2 times 100, so you do 100 squared.
1,000. Yep, 1,000 squared. And then with the next one, 100 squared.
Should we have done it on the second
Yes,
one?
correct. So that's why I've given you more, but I don't have that space on my board.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did it on the first.
That's okay, that's all right. So you can see area, in terms of area, if these units are squared, then when I convert, I multiply by whatever squared, or divide. Divide by 10 squared, divide by 100 squared, divide by 1,000 squared. Okay, so now we're up to where we were yesterday, looking at volume, right? So volume is not in 2 dimensions, is it? It's in 3, which is why on your next row down, you have a whole bunch of cubes, right? So here is a cubic kilometer. So this is not going to be a 2 anymore. On yours, you can see it's a 3, right? I've just got to adjust mine as I go. So I've got a 3 here, and that's why it's cubed. A 3 here, and there's my cube. And even cubic millimeters, which are tiny, tiny little things, okay? Now, just like we said before, because the units are cubed, that means our conversion process will also be cubed, okay? So if you were to go from cubic kilometers to cubic meters, you'd multiply by 1,000 cubed, which is a really big number, right? Depending on what country you're in, it's either 1,000 million or a billion, but I won't get into that discussion. You multiply by 100 cubed, Or even, look at this, right? 1 cubic centimeter, okay? Just like we drew in our books, right? 1 cubic centimeter is how many cubic millimeters? 1 cubic centimeter. It's going to be 10 times 10 times 10. That's 1,000. 10 times 10. It's 1,000 cubic millimeters because cubic millimeters are so tiny, right? And in the same way, you would divide by 10 cubed or divide by 100 cubed or 1,000 cubed if you were doing the conversions the other way.